Good morning and welcome back to The Morning Magazine, presented by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. It's time for part 2.
Welcome back, everybody, to Morning Magazine, part 2 for this August 19th, 2020. Your host, James, here. Thanks for joining us. And right now, we are joined by General Manager of your Wisconsin Rapids Rafters, Andy Francis. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. And want to say, again, hello to our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media for hanging around. How do you get ready for the playoffs, Andy? Like a general manager. Well, I got ahead of myself. I'm just so excited to talk playoffs with you. First, how are you and yours doing?
Oh, good. We're getting excited. With us clinching home field on Monday, we know that if we can take care of business on Friday, we'll have the championship game at home.
So when it comes, now I'm just going to dive right in. That's good to hear, though. I'm really happy to hear you guys are doing well. We talk to the players, we talk to coaches, we hear from them all the time in every level of sports of how you get ready for playoffs, how you handle it, how you approach it, and everything. We never really get to hear from management. We never really get to hear from general managers and ththings like that about how if there is a different approach or if there's a mindset you take into the playoffs. I was really looking forward to being able to ask you that today, just because it's your first time maybe as a general manager going into a championship, but with the Rafters organization, you were a part of the team in 2016, weren't you? I believe.
I was 15,
no,
so I just had missed the good years.
That's right, you just missed it. That's right. So this is a completely new experience for you. So is there a different approach? Is there something different you handle it, or does it it's just another Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we approach it relatively the same way, but with a heightened expectation on our end. What we do at the ballpark day in and day out, I believe is a great level of experience for people in the community, and it's taking that, rolling it into the playoff game, but then adding a little more on top of it to create even a better atmosphere than you would see at a normal game.
How do you feel? We've got the game is all locked up now for our first playoff game. It'll be the Rafters versus the Loggers. Game will be at historic Winter Field, 5:35 gates open. First pitch will be at 6:35, and of course we'll have that game and all the playoffs right here. When it comes to playing your playoff games at home. Now, certainly most of us feel like, well, that's a beautiful thing, but you guys have an added thing with that. Well, it's one thing to have a regular season game, but then a playoff game where you're probably going to have your attendance more than usual, more than maybe your every Wednesday game or something like that. So you have a lot more during this situation that we're dealing with right now in the pandemic and everything, a little more on your plate. Do you guys have a different are you finding that you're scrambling or you've got kind of already a plan in place for something like this because we kind of knew that we had a playoff run coming?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the great part right there is we've kind of known that we were going to get probably at least one home playoff game. And then when we clinched last week just a playoff berth, we kind of saw that coming. So myself, Hannah, and the rest of the team, we've been kind of putting the plans together here and there, and we've kind of gotten to the point where we're ready to go. We just need, people to show up to the ballpark and have some fun, bring the energy, help us get these players going because now every game matters. It's a one-game elimination. We lose on Friday, then we're done, but very confident in the team that we have and been able to keep around. That's kind of been the other half of the battle is keeping your guys here because many of them have to go back to school at quarantine before being on campus or injuries or whatever it may have been. Most teams haven't been as fortunate as we have. I would say that we started off with a very deep team to start the year. That depth has kind of dwindled slightly, but we've been able to replace those guys with some quality players and has put us in a position where we still have a great team, and I would say we're still the best team in the league right now.
Being at the game Saturday, one of the things that I thought was really cool was hearing the perspective from fans of just being so appreciative of having a team and having somebody to root for, let alone that they've been playing well and that we've had, some of the great games that we've had and everything. It's great to see because that perspective can't be lost on any of us. There's a lot of areas. It could have been a different season. You look at what happened with the Rivets and Rockford and everything, and basically having whoever was there opening day was not there. This past game that they had and everything. Like it's almost a complete overhaul of that team.
They have one guy left from
thought it was one.
For July.
Oh.
One guy.
Well, last man standing.
Basically.
That's rough. That's rough. So this situation, this whole pod thing seemed like a great idea, and it was, and going into it. But then there's so many factors that you don't know what could come, and to be where we are right now, win or lose, you got to be appreciative of this as fans. I think you guys have a goal in mind, so that's one thing. But as fans, I feel like it's on us to show our appreciation no matter what. Whatever happens this weekend and everything, to show how much this team means to us and everything, and to cheer just as loud as you would if they're ahead or if they're behind, whatever it is. When it comes to that home field part of it, you guys are going to you have an opportunity here to play your final three games of 2020 at home, and have two of those games be incredibly important games with a playoff game and a possible, I keep calling it the World Series, but the Illinois-Wisconsin Pod Series championship and everything. Do you feel, you know this team better than anybody, you've been around these guys more than anybody else and everything. Do you see these guys acting differently on the road than at home? And do you see this being an advantage being at home? Because for some teams, it isn't always an advantage. Some teams play better on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. For us this year, this team is definitely a home team. They played well on the road as well. But for example, we started the year 13-1 at home, so we know that these guys love the preparation. Longer time to get ready. You don't have to worry about the bus trips, sitting down for a long period of time. They have all day to kind of just get ready, and I think that's a big thing for them to find their rhythm, get in the right mindset, and then move on. Where you don't always get that on the road.
When it comes to as far as players coming in and out and having to go back to school, like you mentioned, and that I know that the pitching staff has been a little bit hit more than other parts of the team. How has that been going with the transition and the new guys being brought in and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of been relatively seamless for us. We haven't had any big blow-ups from the bullpen. The starting staff has been great. For the most part, I think myself and the coaches have been pretty happy, and we've been able to keep a couple of the core guys around for this playoff run. So we'll have, Chris McElveen's had a great season. Travis Adams has as well. Braden Bonner out of the bullpen, to close games out. I could go on and on about a couple more guys that'll throw this weekend, but we kind of have it all set up where we know who we're throwing both games. We know that we're in a good position. All we got to do is score a couple of runs, and we'll be good.
One of my biggest things going into especially the way this season is wrapping up, which is just, so interesting to me, because you have a possible, championship preview in these next 2 days with us playing the Dock Spiders and the two best teams in there. And if it goes the way it is on paper, this could be the championship right there, the Dock Spiders and Rafters. So much of baseball is gamesmanship. And scouting, and not just the coaches scouting, but batters scouting pitchers scouting batters, that. And then you put on top of that a small pod where everybody has seen each other multiple times by now and everything. Do you think that these next two games, there's going to be some of that where, coaches are keeping their cards close to their chest? Or at this point, everything's already laid out? And it's just kind of, well, what are we really going to... Not going to have a guy coming out of here that's actually going to throw a pitch that you've never seen before or anything necessarily. It's kind of all on the table already.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for us, we're kind of, they're not going to see who they're going to see in the championship game. They're just all ready to go. They've thrown already. They're set. And I think the great thing about these two games are with players coming in and out, now you get an opportunity to see almost the rest of the positional guys that you may not have seen in a week or two, or maybe you just saw for one game back a week ago. Kind of provides Craig that opportunity to dig into the analytical side a little bit more and kind of process, hey, this guy, that guy, and kind of help him build his strategy for that championship game, for that first playoff game, whatever it may be.
We haven't had a chance to really get to know Craig or talk to Craig too often, but from what it seems like, he seems like a real good combination of that mix of old school manager with bringing in some of the new. Is that how he coaches? Is that how you've seen a little bit of numbers, a little logistics, but mainly it's kind of the old school mentality?
Yeah, absolutely. He's on Seamus all the time. Make sure he's getting his stats. Make sure he's getting all the information about the upcoming game. But then at times he will. Be that guy that'll follow his gut, or this guy's rolling really good. Third time through the order, maybe hasn't been as good usually for this guy, but he's, gone 5 scoreless. Let's keep him in there.
One of the things that has come up nationally when we talk about championships, especially, looking at the NBA and NHL, and they're making a playoff push right now and trying to crown a champion. I've heard a lot of talking heads saying, well, there's going to be an asterisk on it, and it's a shortened season, or it's a pandemic season and everything. And they say it almost in a negative way. But I feel like, especially in talking to friends of mine and everything that have watched sports their whole lives and everything, we've never seen anything like this. And as fans, we have to approach it differently because of that, with no fans and stands and things like that. Whereas as an athlete, I feel like you sure put an asterisk for it being one of the hardest championships to ever win. To me, it's the exact opposite. I think if a team wins, it almost stands out even more than a regular championship to be able to win during a pandemic.
Yeah.
to win anything, win a game, let alone a championship. So how do you come at it from that angle? Do you see it as a, well, it was a shortened season, we had so many teams, or I'm even prouder of these guys than if they had won it in a regular season?
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from too, with the light of, is it a negative connotation with it? Because there will be 4 champions essentially crowned this year. But you're right. There's a lot of work that went into just getting game one off the ground, and even more work to make sure we're doing what we needed to throughout the course of the summertime. This was my 6th summer doing this, and this has been the hardest summer to date for me.
I believe it.
The day in and day out of just wondering, are we going to be like a Rockford? Is something like that going to pop up? We've been very fortunate so far, knock on wood, but I think we came into the season with a good developed plan. We've executed it. We've executed it very well, and we will continue to do that through the rest of our, special event season as well. But I would say that this one's going to stand out for us. Going to be happy to hopefully provide a championship for the community and for this team and for all the staff that put in the hard work, because that would just be the cherry on top for this year.
Yeah. And one of the things that we have talked about so much off air, especially with listeners, is the day-to-day that we've been able to talk Rafters, we've been able to have them and everything. I feel like we've already won this year. I feel like as baseball fans, as Rafter fans, as fans of any team in the Northwoods League, you've already won. However your team finished or anything like that, you got something that most areas don't have right now. You look down south, you look at the minor league baseball, you look at T-ball, kids sports, so many things not being able to go on. And here we have been able to have Northwoods League baseball. So I feel like, yes, absolutely, we won a championship, and that would be the cherry on top, but we've already won. We already are winners from this. And that is something that I get from the players too. Like, not even just in talking with them during Meet Your Rafters and everything, how happy they are to be here, how happy they are to be playing this game. That's infectious. It immediately makes you feel like for me especially, I want to grab a mitt and go out in left field. I want to see if coach needs me to pitch run or anything like that, because you just get that vibe from them. Do you get that too? Do you is being around these guys so much and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about it, they lost most of their spring season. A lot more guys needed to get work this summer. We're one of 4 leagues for summer collegiate baseball that's kind of up and running, and it's something where if you lose a year of development for a player as a sophomore or as a junior going into the following year as a draft guy, you're basically the same player as the year before, and that's not good for your draft stock. And you even look at it from a staffing standpoint on that side. We have interns that are taking this for college credit that essentially, if they weren't able to take this internship, you don't get the college credit, which means you're going to be on campus for either another semester or you got to pack it in a little bit tighter or whatever it may be. So I've seen it from all ends. And I'm just excited that, we're able to get through the season. I can finally say that because the last game is tomorrow, and I can kind of take a breather once Saturday's done.
That's I've been so focused on the player aspect of this, and especially with what happened with minor league baseball, and really interesting to see not just this year, but in the years to come, how that's going to affect the talent influx in the Northwoods League, because by all rights, like you said, there's only going to be so many leagues open and everything. These guys got to play somewhere. It's not like in basketball or in football where oftentimes you see a guy go from college to pro and be able to make that transition pretty seamless. Baseball, it just like with hockey, it takes time. You're not going to see you're probably never going to see a kid go from his college baseball field to go playing at Miller Park or something like that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen.
Very hard.
So when you take that away, they've got to get that experience somewhere. And the Northwoods leagues like this are going to be influxed with a lot of that talent. But then to think of the intern part of it, because I did have a note here I wanted to mention, a shout out to all every Rafters game I've ever been to, the interns have been great, whether it was 5 years ago or it has been this year. You guys do a great job of staffing good people and people who are very good at what they're doing already, even just coming into this. But I hadn't thought about that part of it, where for these guys, how that is. How has that gone with the staff and looking ahead here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the intern side of it. I've had some of them say that I'm one of 40 students in my graduating class that was able to take an internship this year in my sports management department. But yeah, then even on the staffing side, we typically most years will get a lot of applicants for our jobs. This year we had a little bit less just due to everything that's kind of happened, and a lot of great staff members that work at the ballpark, and I appreciate the work that they've done day in and day out. And as we get closer to school, we've lost some of our interns. We've lost some game day staff that have to just go back and move in, and we're getting close to the end because I know we're getting close to the minimum number of staff needed to operate a game. So it's going to be a little hectic. You're going to see me running around with beer kegs. The last couple of games already have been, but we'll have a good experience. They definitely work hard, and I appreciate everything that they do.
I don't think that I've been to a game when I do run into you that you're not moving at a brisk pace, that you're always doing something. So yeah, you're going to be pretty busy, it sounds like. But we do want to thank them for being in the area, for interning, for doing the work that they are doing, and just great stuff. I haven't had, and trust me, our listeners will let me know if something negative's going on, and I haven't heard one bad thing coming out of Winterfield. Like as far as how people are treated, their experience at the park and everything has been positive. I haven't heard any negatives. I should mention, I had one listener bring up that the bullseye, they wanted the bullseye bigger or something, or a little bit in a different spot maybe or something, and yeah, if that's what we're picking at, that tells you that things are pretty good. Yeah. I would say.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We are speaking with Andy Francis, General Manager of Wisconsin Rapids Rafters, and we have our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media in with us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll have more Morning Magazine on AM 1320 WFHR. It is 73 in Stevens Point, 73 in Marshfield, 70 in Wausau, and 72 here in Wisconsin Rapids, where again we are joined by our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, and a thank you to them. And we have Andy Francis with us from the Rafters, and Andy, again, appreciate the time. I know you're busy in general, but especially right now, you've got to be very busy. So thanks for being able to be on with us today.
Of course, I always enjoy it.
And as long as I'm getting some thank yous out there, I wanted to say just face to face, because we've talked off air a little bit and everything, but I just wanted to thank you and the staff and the organization at the Rafters for what you did for my radio big brother, my partner Carl Hilke, and what you did for Pam and Carl's family this past weekend. It was a beautiful tribute. It was incredibly well done, and I don't have the right words for it or anything, because it's one of those things that's a feeling. I don't think there's any really word in the English language to word it, but thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl, was there from day one. Meant a lot to the organization. I knew him for maybe about a year, but still, I know what he meant to John, the previous GM, and Liz, the first GM, and what he did for the organization and the Rafters, just overall growth, and he definitely deserved it.
It's one of the advantages we have with a team that's maybe not in MLB or something like that, when there's a local feel to it, when it is a personal feel. It's a little more hands-on. It's a little more face-to-face kind of thing. So you get to see so many of the people that go to Winterfield all the time and everything, they're familiar faces to you. You get to see, especially with you, where you're running around all the time and everything. Mm-hmm. You're seeing a lot of these people and seeing a lot of their familiar faces. So it is one of the nice things that when we can do that. Bring the fans onto the field in a sense, make them a part of the game, really, where they are they're kind of in as much of this as the players are in a lot of ways. They're as emotionally brought in as they are. And it was just a very cool thing to be able to do, just like being able to see local kids throwing out the first pitch, or the great job that you guys do with the in-between inning games. All those games that you guys have, and Hannah and everything does a fantastic job. I almost forgot to say that. I wanted to give a big shout out to her. I really was impressed a couple of games I've been to and the work she's been doing. How have you felt about that with her?
Absolutely, and I think she even has additional help this year with Chloe, who was an intern here in 2018, being back as marketing manager. They've definitely taken that a step further. It was a challenge that we had before the season started. How do we keep that same level, if not increase the level of entertainment that we have on field in between innings, but also doing it in a safe way where you don't have the contact all the time like you would with some games. Has
this year has been a lesson in itself, I'm sure. But has this year given you some things that you can bring in the next year where, hopefully there is a normal next year or close to normal as we can get, or the new normal, however you want to word it, that you can bring into next year and be like, well, this works pandemic or no pandemic. I like this. We're going to bring this next year and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of just every department, every aspect of what we do. We'll get it analyzed after the season, but a couple that come to mind, the way we prepared a lot of the food this year, with having, only to feed 650 compared to having to try to feed 1,400 day in and day out. We've had some pretty good comments with the food just being, maybe more fresh or maybe whatever they enjoyed about it. But taking that and using it next year, some of the on-field games that we've done that up the level of excitement, doing that. And even as something like with the players, the roster, we have 35 on the team for the first time this year. I think everyone's going to be pushing the league next year to have those 5 and then have a 5-man taxi squad like we do this year and, keep a couple starters down. So there's a lot of things this year I think we'll see into next year. It's just a matter of, can all of them happen and logistically still continue on with a larger crowd.
Certainly not, pinning you to any answer right now or anything like that. But since the season kind of got going when it did, and you have 2021, you're already looking ahead. Of course, you have to, scheduling wise and all that. Do you feel like the 2021 season is going to start closer to the norm that we're used to, or do you just still too unsure? There's too many unknown factors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with just some internal conversations we've been having as an organization, but then as a league, everything's turning in the direction of a normal year next year. The big thing with us not starting on time this year was due to the lockdown. As long as something like that doesn't happen to pop up again, there's no reason why the Rafters shouldn't be playing on May 25th like we usually do on a Tuesday every year.
Right, right on. And I want so badly to be able to say that I went to a World Series game. So I really want to be able to go to this game on Saturday and everything, because I'm already looking ahead. I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I am. Completely biased on my part. But tickets are going quick, these playoff tickets. There's only so many left, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Game 1, we're down to about our last 200 tickets. On game days, we usually do at least 150 average, some more, some less. But yeah, I think if anyone wants a ticket to game 1 for the playoffs, do it before day of game to guarantee yourself a seat. Otherwise, I can't do it past that.
Yeah. Playoff tickets can be bought at the Rafters ticket front office at Witter Field or by calling 715-424-5400. Andy, it's been a great season. We appreciate you guys. Win or lose, we'd love to talk to you next week during Coffee and Sports or something like that. We'll talk off air and see if you have time or anything. But either way, we would like to touch base with you after the season is wrapped up. And just thank you again to you and everybody in that Rafters organization, all the players, staff, everybody. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate just fans coming out to the ballpark and caring as much about what we do. It makes it that much easier to come in day in and day out, even during a pandemic like this, to keep pushing forward, because we know that there's a lot of people out there that enjoy the games, and if we're not on point one night, we'll hear about it. So thank you.
It's been a fun year. It's been a real fun year. We appreciate you. And we appreciate our friends over at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media hanging out. Thanks to Kevin and the gang over there. We will have more Morning Magazine for you tomorrow right here on AM 1320 WFHR.